We'll now take a look at the front of the matrix. Now on the front of the matrix we have two jerry can holders, one on either side. Just neck down from the jerry can holder we have an external tap, which is good for washing down purposes. Now here we have two optional extra gas bayonets. Just up from there we have the pole carrier hatch, which inside has our poles for our awning. Here we have our standard gas bayonet, which is applicable for our kitchen or slide out barbecue. We'll now take a look at the external kitchen. So on this matrix it does have an optional twin wok burner. As standard it comes with a barbecue slide pull out, but the mechanism is the same, so we'll look at the mechanism now. Now on these sliders they do have locking tabs, one on either side. To release these we just push down and it will let us pull the kitchen out. Once the kitchen is at full extension, the tabs will lock in. And here we have the 2-wok burner. It also has a sink and also caters for a Weber if the customer desires it. Now we will look at the gas vent on the front of the door on the matrix. The matrix has got to have a front door gas vent because it has an internal cooker. So for the vent to work, we have to open the butterfly clips. We have one on the top and one on the side. We flick the little head up, twist it anti-clockwise. With a little bit of pressure, we can lift this past. And then we lower the door down. And as you can see, we have our vent for the gas. I will now demonstrate how to close the gas vent. So the same steps as opening. We'll put the butterfly clips on, a little bit of pressure on each side. And then we will now turn them clockwise, which locks them in. Push the tab down and our gas vent is now locked. We have to make sure that this is done every time before travelling, as this will stop dust from getting inside the van. We are now at the passenger side rear of this matrix, so we will look at the 12-volt outlet point that is here. We also have an external TV aerial point. Next to that we have an inverter outlet point and a mains outlet point. A good point to mention with these is when trying to open this, pressure in the middle is needed as pulling up. Moving on, at the rear of the van we have our hatch, which allows us into the gas bottles. You've got to make sure you push both buttons in to release the hatch door. So with the doors as standard, with the handles we use, they do have a safety latch on them, which allows us to lock the door in place to prevent the door from moving. We will now move to the rear of the matrix van. Here we have the radio aerial antenna, which allows us to pick up frequency. We also have behind the spare wheel another external TV aerial point. At the rear of the van we have a very handy external shower. This is held on with the clip. Remove the clip, drop down the cover. This allows access to the rear taps. We have a hot and cold tap. In the middle is where we insert the shower rose, and this will allow us to shower. We are now at the driver's side rear of the matrix van. Here we have a power inlet. With this, a good point to remember is to push in the middle as lifting at the bottom. Here we have a filler neck, which is for the rear tank, allowing us to put 140 litre water capacity in. The same filler neck is used, but this one is for the front tank with the same 140 water litre capacity. We'll now move on to the hot water system. This is an outside dust cover for the hot water system. If we turn the handle, the cover will come down. We then see that we have another dust cover which prevents any dust from entering the hot water system. So for this, we have to move it off. It has two Velcro tabs on it which will lock in so you can't lose the cover. And now we can operate our hot water system. We will now move on to the first pantry door. Now in this pantry door, this matrix does have the optional air conditioning unit. For the air conditioning unit to work, the door has got to be open. And moving on to the next storage drawer, we have a larger storage pantry drawer here. So once again, open the handles, drop the door down, and as you see we have a box. It tells you the weight that is allowed in the box, and this box is used for storage. Firstly, move the handle up to lift the box out. And always remember when putting the box away to lift the handle back up so it does not damage the seal. And down to here, which is the diesel heater storage tank. This allows 10 litre of diesel to be stored, and on the side it has a gauge to let you know how much diesel is in there. We will now take a look inside the front boot of the Matrix. Now with the boot it has 2 locking handles. If we turn these anti-clockwise, this will enable us to lift up the lid, and it will now lock in on the 2 spring catchers. On the driver's side we have the breakaway unit, which is used to lock the brakes on in the event of the caravan becoming unhitched. We also have an internal light which can be moved to whichever preference is needed. It also has its own individual switch. Down on the awning side we have the Macerator pump with the switch to use the pump. And this has been the Matrix front boot. We'll now move on to the Matrix firewood rack. We'll now take a look at the Matrix firewood rack. Now with this firewood rack it does come as standard with the Matrix fleet. One thing to remember with the firewood rack is it has 2 locking handles. These handles have to be turned anti-clockwise, and this will enable us to drop the firewood rack down. It has 2 lanyards on it, one on each side, which will stop it from dropping any further down. And with here we can see this is where we store our firewood. It also has the holes in where we can tie it to a point so it cannot move. And that is the firewood rack. Now we're going to take a look at our stabiliser leg. These legs are fitted on all our vans as standard. We have one in each corner of the van to help stabilise the van when setting up. With the leg, we pull the handle towards us and the leg will come down. And to lock the leg in place we use our leg brace to move the leg down. And once we want to release the leg we wind it back up. Now some key points with the legs are to remember that maintenance is key, so we need to lubricate the leg very often, and also that the leg is not a jacking point, it is only a stabiliser.
I'm now going to explain how we use the river water access. The river water access system is always connected to the front tank, and that goes for the whole fleet of the AOR trailers. This is how we use the river water access system. First of all, you need to isolate the tank itself so the water doesn't get pumped from the tank. And how we do this is we turn this tap in the off position. The way you know it's in the off position, when the tap is damming the flow of the water, you know it's off. So we turn the tank off, we've isolated it, and then you activate the river water access system by opening up the front tap. We can now connect a pipe, a hose pipe, to the water access system, which will be, the other end will be in the water we're trying to pump from. Once you turn on the tap inside the van or the external sink, the water will automatically pump from the river. Now also, once you've finished, you would do the opposite. So you turn off the river water access system, you open up the tank. Also connected to the tank is an outlet drain. Now if you ever want to empty your tanks, all you've got to do is you open up this tank and the water will drain.
On this particular van we can see it's got the alloy wheels. Now the alloy wheels are an optional extra. Our vans as standard across the whole fleet come with steel rims as standard.